Going live. Oh.
Hey. Hi, everybody.
Howdy. Hello.
Thanks for joining me on my first training. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to make it as straightforward and quick as I possibly can. So today, we are talking about workplace violence. So we got a 5-minute video here for you.
Workplace violence consists of violent acts directed at someone who's at work or on duty. For example, physical assault, threats, harassment, intimidation, and bullying all qualify as violent behaviors at work. Workplace violence can be instigated by several categories of individuals. Criminal. A crime is committed in conjunction with the violence by a person with no legitimate relationship with the business, like a robber, an arsonist, or a trespasser. A customer, who's a person with a legitimate relationship with the business that becomes violent, like a patient, student, inmate, or a customer. A coworker, who's a current or past employee that is another person, like a contractor or a temporary employee. Domestic, a person who has no legitimate relationship with the business, but has a personal relationship with the victim, who commits some form of violence against that individual, like a family member or a boyfriend. In many cases, the perpetrator of the act receives signs well before committing the act. However, these signals are often given inadequate attention or even dismissed. Fears of litigation cause some HR professionals and managers to wait for clearer evidence that an employee may act violently. Although a cautious approach may seem legally defensible, companies also have a duty to protect their workers from workplace danger. Taking threats seriously and acting proactively if an employee poses a threat are appropriate steps to take. Managers, HR staff members, supervisors, and employees should be trained on how to recognize the signs of potentially violent employees and what to do when violence occurs. During training in many organizations, participants learn the typical profile of potentially violent employees and are trained to notify the HR department and refer employees to outside counseling professionals. Such training requires observers to notice individuals' verbal and nonverbal reactions that may indicate anger or hostility and to listen to individuals who are exhibiting such a reaction. Specific suggestions addressed in training when dealing with potentially violent employees typically include the following. Ask questions, requiring explanations and longer answers to allow the individual to vent. Respond calmly and non-threateningly to an individual's emotions. Acknowledge concerns and demonstrate understanding of how the individual feels. Get assistance from others, perhaps a manager not directly affected by the situation being discussed. Indicate the need for time to respond to the concerns voiced and then set up another time for follow-up. Notify security and HR personnel whenever an employee's behavior changes dramatically or when a job disciplinary action may provoke significant reactions from an employee. Dysfunctional workplace interactions can create a workplace filled with hostility and disrespect. Incivility occurs when rude behavior by ill-mannered coworkers or bosses makes the targets of incivility feel annoyed, frustrated, or even offended. Most employees do not find incivility serious enough to file a formal complaint, but incivility can escalate into bullying and lead to other destructive workplace behaviors that are likely to require action. Bullying is behavior that the victim perceives as oppressive, humiliating, threatening, or infringing on the target's human rights, and that occurs over an extended period of time. Bullying, especially by supervisors, can result in damage to the employee and to the organization, leading to increased turnover. Bullying can lead to serious physical and emotional damage to targets and can result in lost time from work and lower productivity. One consideration when it comes to workplace violence is a violence response team, comprised of security personnel, key managers, HR staff members, and selected employees. This team functions much like a safety committee, but with a different focus. Such a team conducts analysis, responds to and investigates employee threats, and may help calm angry, volatile employees. Post-violence response is another aspect of managing workplace violence. Whether the violence results in physical injuries or death, or just intense interpersonal conflicts, it's important that employers have plans to respond afterward. Their response must reassure employees who may be fearful of returning to work or who experience anxiety, among other reactions. Providing referrals to EAP resources, allowing employees time off and time to meet with HR staff, and arranging for on-site trained counselors are all possible elements of a post-violence response effort.
Okay, so what is workplace violence? It is any act or threat of physical violence, harassment, intimidation, or other threatening, disruptive behavior at work. Employers must take zero tolerance policy on any and all forms of violence. As workers, we may encounter that in the workplace or witness that kind of behavior. Don't be a bystander. Take a stand, stop it, and report it. A lot of employees are embarrassed or ashamed. Don't be. We work hard to make Prairie a safe, friendly environment for all of us to work and grow. April's safety topic is weather awareness and chain-ups. Forecast for this week is more rain and snow, so be prepared for the changing weather. Watch the sky. Use the Wyoming 511 app if you need to know the up-to-date road information. And the forecast for Texas is 90s for the first part of the week, high 90s, but at the end of the week dropping to the 60s and 70s with rain on Saturday. So be prepared for the rainstorms. It comes in really heavy there. And potential for flooding and muddy areas.
Texas crude guys, they've been running about 10,000 barrels a day. Here they're bumping it constantly now. They got some flowbacks coming on that are looking real good. Well, I mean, you guys are averaging about 52 to 53,000 barrels a day still, and looking really, really good. We got some flowbacks coming on also here shortly. And water, they've been hauling between service work and pickup, just regular disposal stuff. They're between 8,000 and 9,000 now. They've come up quite a bit. They're looking really good lately. Wanted to tell you, if you guys haven't heard, Jerry Bryant, his father-in-law passed away with cancer a week or so ago, so that was bothering him. But his stepson passed away the other day. Sunday's his stepson's funeral. He's 13. So just keep Jerry in mind out there. And my first one up there is your trivia useless knowledge for the day. Split loads. Remember, you can't take a split load unless you're authorized. If a pumper wants you to bottom tanks and all that, make sure you put his full name on the ticket, let dispatch know. Pre-post trips, we got to be more diligent about showing time on our logs. When we got audited, there's a lot of 1 minute and 2 minute or no pre-post trip times. We need at least 10 to 15 minutes. What we'd like you to do is at least take pictures of your defects, that kind of thing, because that will ensure you've got enough time on them. Because that's a major violation if it were a DOT audit. Our audit was conducted by our insurance company as a courtesy to us, and that was a huge hit. A lot of that's out of compliance if it were DOT. The shop would also like those pictures too, because sometimes explanation on defective parts, what we call it and what they need to replace it, aren't the same thing. But same with on-duty time. If you guys could make sure you show at least 15 minutes on-duty time when you're loading. Because we got to account for that, and you can't just go right off duty because how'd that oil get in your tank or the water get in your truck? One of the two. Passing around, I'll talk a little bit about Silver Creek. You know, they bought out Genesis Lacs. So the Pronghorn, Campbell Lac, any of the old Genesis properties are now Silver Creek. What we're passing out to you, and if you're watching online, make sure you guys get in and get one of these. These are their rules and regulations. Some of the things that they have to change is, it's all pretty much the same. They need to be notified of any kind of spills. We follow our own procedures with notifying dispatch, all that kind of thing. Their speed limits are 10 miles an hour entering their LAC facilities. And it's an idle coming into the offload areas. They realize the Pronghorn doesn't have enough facility to accommodate the load. So those 2 additional bays that have never had a LAC to them, they want to get LACs put in there. So they're working on that. They also want to have a heavy oil offload LAC too. That will help out. When you read through this, you'll see in there they want the engines off when you're offloading. Unless it's feasible, you cannot keep it air to it. They want the engine off. On the back of here is your sign-off sheet. Make sure you fill this out. They don't want these back, but they need to be in your clipboard. Because if they see you doing something wrong, they're going to ask you to see these. Say, well, you signed off on it. You have the rules. Why are you doing it wrong? So keep these in your clipboards whenever you go into a Silver Creek facility, because they need them. They will ask you to see them. We just went through the meeting the other night with this, with Silver Creek, and until everybody gets accustomed to pulling it out of their clipboard, they're going to be checking quite a few guys to make sure you have this in there. But read through it. None of the rules are really much different other than their speed limits, especially approaching the pots, is dead idle, and trucks off while you're offloading. Absolutely no maintenance, washing windshields, nothing while you're offloading. You have to be by your controls. Cones, chocks, grounds, just the same as always. And they will have guys at those facilities all the time here shortly. They'll answer any questions you have. There's a guy that staffs the Pronghorn right now, but he's not there 24 hours a day. He's there a lot of hours out of the day. But make sure you keep those. As I said, make sure you think about Jerry. If there's things we can do to help him out, reach out to him. The funeral is Saturday at 2 o'clock. Saturday at 2 o'clock is the funeral.
Where is it?
At the graveyard.
Oh, at the graveyard, sorry.
Oh, chat. Oh, Sarah. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm good. I don't know everything.
I'm talking to him. I am. All right. So Buster can do.
The obituary is on Oil City News today.
Oh.
Do you guys have any questions or concerns?
Did you tell them what the box? So I'm going to make the suggestion box this week. If you want to make any donations to the family, I will make that suggestion box. Everything will be given to Jerry and his family. So if you want to.
Where will that be?
It's down in the driver room. And I'll put a note on there.
I don't know if you guys could hear online, but Sarah was saying the suggestion box downstairs, if you guys wish to leave a donation for the family or anything, you can put it in there. It's locked up, and she'll make sure it gets to Jerry and his family. Any questions online at all?
So his service is at United Church of Christ, 1511 South Melrose, Saturday, April 13th at 2 p.m.
There's no questions out online or in here. We thanks for you guys attending today. We appreciate it.
Yeah.